Hello everyone out there in the YouTube community. I want to take the opportunity to just introduce you to DEF. DEF stands for Dispute, Escalation, Virtualization. We all have expectations of others and ourselves, but when our expectations are not fulfilled, we feel disappointment, frustration, annoyance, sadness and anger. Then our defense mechanisms automatically kicks in to protect us from further pain. And soon these defensive behavior escalate into offensive behaviors as both parties feel obliged to escalate the level of dispute, conflict in order to project strength, independence, whilst expecting the other party to concede wrong or to give in. The previous scenario I described is played out in the everyday lives of ordinary people, of couples, families, friends at work, intercompany, political, military and international arenas. Couples have misunderstandings which escalate into arguments, fights, separations, divorce, custody, child custody dramas. Children and parents have arguments over rights, privileges, responsibilities, and some end up in cutting family ties. Companies initially partner together and then perhaps some end up in legal disputes and prolonged courtroom battles. Countries come to war with each other, beginning with words and ending with bloodshed. If there's one thing for sure, dispute escalation is natural to man and womankind. We do not need to learn it, it comes naturally to us. The approaches that some people use to deal with disputes are, first of all, to ignore it. The next would be a show of force to overwhelm, intimidate the other party into subjection. Thirdly, some parties choose to tough it out. They acknowledge the problem exists, but use some defensive behaviors to endure it, but not seek the root cause solution to the problems. Fourthly, some parties choose to use counseling or mediation. This is a good approach. Lastly, it could be a combination of all the approaches above. Now here's my suggestion. Use DEF. Dispute, escalation, virtualization. Whilst people have different ways of dealing with disputes, many of these disputes inevitably end up over protracted periods of time with painful sad consequences. Disputes play out their full suites of defensive and offensive actions, escalating from one level to a higher level until hopefully one or both parties comes to their senses and realizes the consequences now and future on their lives and of those affected. For example, a couple who have escalated their dispute to a state of divorce and shared child custody, then sitting alone in a rented apartment, a separated father thinks of his son whom he can only visit once a month because his now separated wife is living interstate. And he now wishes he had resolved things better with his wife and not come to this when he had the chance earlier on. Consider also with two countries too quick to go to war and many lives are lost on both sides. Economies and the social fabric are ripped apart. It is said that there is wisdom in hindsight. I agree. And if so, then let's get that hindsight by virtualizing the dispute escalation process. Let's play out in our minds, and only in our minds, how a dispute escalation proceeds and ends up. Then see the pain, disaster, sorrow, madness at the end of this dispute escalation process, and feel the utter need to steer clear of the cause that brings such pain and ugliness. The distinct value of DEF is that most anyone can avoid the painful road of dispute escalation, where the destination can be broken homes, broken families, broken lives. war-torn countries, and where this journey normally takes days, months, and years before any lesson from hindsight follows. With death, you actually play out or virtualize the dispute escalation process in your minds only, and this can take minutes, hours, or days instead of the much longer periods. And by virtualization, you come to an early conclusion with wisdom gleaned from the virtualization hindsight, and you decide to treasure and mend the issues you have now rather than escalate the dispute, because you can see where the ugly road leads. I hope that you begin to see and understand a bit of death, and furthermore, I hope that you will think about it and use death to your advantage in your lives. If you want to know more, talk to me.